Hungi sat there while the woman across from him demanded a $300,000 dowry. He felt a surge of bitter laughter rising in his throat, fueled by pure frustration. Their blind date had barely even started, yet she was already talking as if his entire life was something she could just weigh and throw away. 300,000 is way too much, he started to say, but she cut him off. My cousin got 880,000 just last year, she scoffed. If you can't afford it, there are plenty of other men who can. Maybe you should spend some time reflecting on why you aren't working hard enough. In the end, he didn't argue. He simply got up and started the long walk home alone. He was pushing 40 now. Half of his life had been swallowed up by a mortgage, a car loan, and a job that never truly felt like his own. Back in the day, everyone told him that civil engineering was a promising major. They said a degree from a prestigious university would change his entire fate. He believed them, so he studied until his eyes burned. He chose the right path and stepped into society full of hope, but then the real estate bubble burst. Jobs vanished overnight and salaries stayed frozen for years. After more than a decade of grinding, he still had a mountain of debt on his back. Just when he thought things might finally start to improve, he was laid off. Now, even a stranger on a blind date felt entitled to stand in front of him and use a dowry to humiliate his entire existence. Was he really not working hard enough? No, that wasn't it. In this era, the choices you make matter much more than the effort you put in. One wrong decision can bury a man for half a lifetime. If he could do it all over again, he knew he would never take that road. Suddenly, a sharp shout shattered the silence of the night. "Watch out!" Hungi snapped his head up. At the construction site right next to the road, a massive iron pillar had slipped loose from its cables. It was falling through the air, heading straight for him. For one brief second, the entire world seemed to slow down. His very last thought was a wave of pure, bitter regret. When the warmth finally returned to his body, Hungi heard a familiar voice speaking right beside him. "Hey, what are you daydreaming about? We're in the library, man." Hungi opened his eyes slowly. He saw the old wooden desk, the crowded shelves, and a cheap notebook sitting in front of him. In his hand, he held an outdated phone. Everything looked unreal, yet every single detail felt painfully familiar. He stared at the phone screen until his heart nearly stopped. It was May 20, 2008. He was back in his college years. To prove to himself that this wasn't just some vivid dream, he reached out and grabbed Giri's arm. He squeezed so hard that his friend let out a sudden scream. "Ow, that hurts, man." "Let go!" Hungi's hand began to tremble. That pain meant this was real. He had actually returned to the year 2008. Before he could even catch his breath, a cold, feminine voice spoke from right in front of him. "Stop writing these things. Just give up already. I am never going to be with someone like you." Hungi looked up and saw Chole standing there. In his first life, he had spent 3 long years chasing after her. He wrote her letters, ran her errands, and waited outside her classrooms every single day. He had helped her with anything she asked for, and he treated her arrogance as if it were some kind of charm. What had he ever received in return for all that? He got nothing but contempt, ridicule, and the reputation of a poor toad who thought he could eat swan meat. Chole held his latest love letter out like it was a piece of evidence from a crime scene. Hungi stood up and reached for the paper. "What are you doing?" she asked, sounding surprised. "I changed my mind," he said firmly. He snatched the letter back and tore it into tiny pieces right in front of her. Chole completely froze. "I'm taking it back. I'm just not interested in you anymore." The library went silent instantly. Jiri stared at him as if he were looking at a ghost. The other students nearby waited for Hungi to apologize, to explain himself, or to start begging like he usually did. Instead, Hungi only looked at Chole with a calm, steady expression. "You've been pursuing me for 3 years, she stammered, her face turning bright red from the embarrassment. "Now you're going to pretend that you don't even care?" "That was just my own bad judgment," Hungi replied. "Why would I want to win you back? Honestly, you aren't good enough for me." The words hit her like a physical slap to the face. Chole's eyes widened in total disbelief. No one ever dared to humiliate her like that before. She never expected this, especially from Hungi. He was the boy she thought would always chase after her. She wanted to scream at him, but the librarian hushed them for being too loud. Hungi gave a polite apology and walked out. Outside, Goi Hung scrambled after him, practically bouncing with joy. "Brother Hungi, that was incredible. I've been dying to say that for years. She always used you like some servant." Hungi stared up at the bright summer sky. Finally, the heavy weight from his past life started to lift. In this life, he muttered, "I have much bigger plans." Goi Hung blinked. "Like what?" "Making money. Just stick with me, and I'll make sure you live the good life too." That evening, Hungi finally stepped through his front door. The moment he saw his parents, his heart nearly hammered out of his chest. His mother was busy moving dishes from the kitchen. His father sat by the table, trying to look stern, but it was obvious he'd been waiting for his son. In his first life, Hungi spent way too much time away. He struggled for years, and he never gave them the life they deserved. Now they were right there. They were alive, younger, and standing right in front of him. His eyes started to sting. "Son, what's wrong?" his mother asked. "Did someone pick on you?" His father's face softened, but Hungi just forced a smile. "No one. I just missed you guys." His mother laughed and called him a silly boy. But Hungi knew exactly what this second chance was for. This time, he wouldn't let them grow old while stressing over every penny. He wouldn't wait until it was too late to be a good son. During dinner, he decided to see just how much his family could back him. "Mom, Dad, I want to start a business. I'm going to need 5 million yuan. His mother nearly dropped her chopsticks in shock. 5 million? Do I look like I'm made of money? Your father only makes 3,000 a month. Are you trying to eat his belt too? His father stayed a bit calmer. What kind of business needs that much cash? Hungi explained that the old town would be torn down soon. If he could buy a few buildings before the news broke, the government compensation would be huge. It would multiply their money several times over. His father listened with a serious face, but that amount of money was impossible for them. His mother just waved it off like a dream he'd had. She handed him $50 instead. "Go wash the dishes tonight. There's your startup fund." Hungi took the money and didn't argue. While he scrubbed the plates, he thought about his situation. He had all this knowledge of the future, but it didn't matter without cash or connections. He was going to miss every big break. Just knowing what was coming wasn't enough. He had to use that info to actually get rich. The next day, Hungi sat in the school library. He was munching on some chips and mapping out his future when he spotted Nancy. She was the beautiful heiress of a massive, wealthy family. She was also incredibly cold and distant. Nobody even dared to talk to her. Still, Hungi saw a golden opportunity. If he could somehow get close to her, she might be the key to the money he needed. He walked over and offered Nancy a bag of chips. To his utter shock, she reached out and started eating them quietly. Hungi sat down right next to her. "Since you're eating my snacks, we're friends now, right?" Nancy ate as if she were committing a secret crime. Hungi didn't try to flatter her or act like a nervous wreck. He just spoke to her like a normal person, and they hit it off pretty fast. After a while, Nancy asked if there was anything he needed. Hungi went quiet for a second. He began to explain that he wanted to launch a small business, but he was short on the funds to get it off the ground. Nancy doesn't hesitate to offer him $1,000 right then and there. Back in his past life, Hungi never even saw a monthly paycheck that big. For a girl like Nancy, though, that kind of cash is just spare change. Hungi shakes his head, telling her $1,000 just won't cut it. A flash of disappointment crosses Nancy's face. He explains that he's forced to find a job now. If he's working all the time, he won't be able to hang out at the library with her every day. The idea of losing her only real friend sends a wave of anxiety through her. She quickly promises to find a better way to help him before she rushes off. Hungi doesn't waste a second. He calls up his best friend, Huri, to get things moving. With Huri's help, he lands a gig delivering food near a local internet cafe. By the end of his first shift, he's already cleared $250. Sholei catches sight of him while he's out on a delivery. She can't help but mock his desperate situation. "Just you wait," she says with a smug grin. She's convinced that Hungi will crawl back to her at tomorrow's school gathering to beg for forgiveness. The following morning, Hungi heads back to the library. Nancy is already there, waiting for him. She doesn't say a word as she presses a sleek, golden card into his hand. Hungi stares at the card in shock. "Where on earth did you get this?" he asks. Nancy just looks at him with an innocent shrug. "I grabbed it from my dad's collection. He has so many cards, he won't even notice if one goes missing." Looking at the luxury card, Hungi feels his whole body start to tremble. "How much is on here?" he asks, his voice shaking. Nancy answers him in the most casual tone she can muster. "It's not much, really. Only 2 million." Hungi almost lets out a scream. He can't believe what he's hearing. Nancy tilts her head, asking if he needs more. She offers to go back and swipe another one from her father's stash. Hungi stops her immediately. He gives her his word that he'll pay back every single cent within a month. Deep down, he feels like Nancy is a lucky charm sent straight from heaven. Nancy doesn't care about contracts or interest rates, though. All she wants to know is if Hungi can bring her more chips. Hungi can't help but smile at her request. "Of course," he says. "Tomorrow, I'll bring you enough chips to fill both your hands." Once Nancy leaves, Hungi takes Huri to a rundown building in the downtown area. He finds the elderly owner and offers him $600,000 for the place. Huri starts to panic right there. "Where did you get that kind of money? Tell me you didn't steal your family's life savings." Hungi tells him to relax. The building looks like a damp, useless wreck, but he knows something no one else does. This entire block is about to be part of a massive government development project. Once that kicks off, the owners will get a payout worth several times the current price. The old owner is thrilled to get such a huge offer for his crumbling property. He signs the papers without a second thought. As they walk away, Hiri mentions that their lunchbox business is showing a lot of promise. He thinks they should use the cash to open a real restaurant. Hongi lets him in on a few details about the government's plans. Hiri assumes that Hongi must have some inside information. However, Hongi explains that his vision is much bigger than just running a single restaurant. Hiri then brings up the student gathering happening that night. Hongi immediately thinks of Ethan. He was a rich, spoiled brat who humiliated both of them at this same party in his past life. Hongi has no interest in showing up just to be insulted again. Hiri adds that Shole will be there too. She's been telling everyone that Hongi is going to show up and apologize to her. Hongi couldn't care less. That night, nearly every student shows up for the party. Ethan starts ordering the most expensive drinks on the menu. He loudly announces to the room that he's picking up the entire tab. He takes every chance he gets to show off. After showing off his wealth for a while, the guy finally speaks up. "Hey, where's that loser, Hongi?" he asks. One of the students tells him that Hongi is busy selling restaurant lunches near an internet cafe. They figure he's probably just too embarrassed to show his face at the reunion. Chloe acts like she doesn't give a damn, but she's actually fuming inside. The boy who used to trail behind her like a lost puppy has suddenly lost all interest. To a girl like her, that feels like a personal insult. Just then, one of Chloe's friends bursts through the door and shouts. Hongi didn't come because he's out there spending time with Nancy. The room goes dead silent. Everyone is stunned, and they immediately rush outside to spy on the pair. They find Hongi sitting calmly on a wooden horse ride in a public park. Nancy is right there behind him, munching on a bag of chips without a single care in the world. Seeing them so cozy together leaves Chloe and the rest of the group totally speechless. The students try to convince themselves it's just a fluke. They tell each other it must be a coincidence. One guy starts laughing, asking why a girl like Nancy would ever date a broke guy like Hongi. That's when he gets his answer. Hongi just dropped $600,000 on a new building. Hongi might look like an ordinary guy, but he's clearly capable of making his own decisions. A few days later, the government makes the development project official. In exchange for his property, Hongi walks away with a villa, another piece of land, and a massive pile of cash. His investment has already grown several times over in just a few days. That same night, Hongi goes to return Nancy's money. They sit together by a swimming pool, and under the soft glow of the lights, even Hongi gets distracted by how beautiful she looks. When he hands back the card, Nancy looks at him sadly. "Now that you've returned the money, does that mean we won't be friends anymore?" she asks. Hongi just smiles at her. He tells her that money and friendship are two completely different things. "We'll always be friends," he promises. Instantly, the happiness returns to Nancy's face. Hongi tells her that this is only the beginning. One day, he plans to build a massive business empire. He doesn't put all his profit in one place, though. Instead, he spreads it across several different businesses, including a soup restaurant, a beauty salon, and a few other small ventures. One of those spots is the Star Moonite Bar. Hongi remembers that an international football tournament is about to kick off. He realizes every bar and restaurant in the city is going to be packed, so he leases the Star Moonite Bar for 1 week. It costs him $30,000, but he gets it ready for live screenings. On the first night of the tournament, nearly every single bar is full. Chloe and her friends wander around, unable to find a place to watch the match. That's when Hiri tells them the news. Hongi rented out the Star Moonite Bar. "We can watch it there." Chloe refuses to believe him at first. Then, Hiri reveals that Hongi has been investing in several different businesses over the last few days. Chloe finally begins to understand that Hongi is becoming successful at a terrifying speed. She tries to call him, but the line won't go through. She realizes right then that Hongi has blocked her number. Her face falls as she stands there in front of everyone. Meanwhile, inside the Star Moonite Bar, Hongi is relaxing with Nancy. A staff member walks up and tells him that some people outside are claiming to be his friends. Hongi heads out and meets Hiri first. Hiri explains that they only came to watch the World Cup match because there isn't a single open seat anywhere else in the city. The group follows him inside and they're blown away by the vibrant lights and the luxurious interior. Hongi turns to the staff and makes it clear that Hiri is his best friend. He tells them that no one who came with Hiri should be charged for anything. Everyone in the group sits down quietly, still trying to process the reality of the situation. They spot Nancy sitting just a few feet away. Jealousy flares up in Chole instantly. She tries to convince herself that Nancy's presence is just a coincidence. There is no way she has a special connection with Hongi. But then, Hongi walks over and takes a seat right next to her. Nancy pulls a chip from her bag and feeds it to him with her own hand. A blonde boy in the group completely loses his cool. He can't believe what he's seeing. He never even had the guts to make eye contact with Nancy, yet Hungi is sitting right there. Everyone starts to realize the truth. Maybe Chole didn't dump Hungi after all. It looks like Hungi was actually the one who walked away from her. Unable to stand the sight any longer, Chole storms off in a rage. The following day, Hungi is waiting at the bus station when Hiri rushes toward him. He is beaming as he announces his admission to the Science and Technology branch at Lanshan University. In his past life, Hungi had planned to study civil engineering. This time around, he chooses the finance department instead. He knows his future depends on business and managing money. Finance is clearly the more practical path for his goals. Chole shows up and immediately starts accusing him. She is upset that he is ignoring her calls and breaking his old promises. She insists that he only applied to this university because she was going there. Hungi just looks at her calmly. He tells her she is dead wrong. Nancy applied to this school, and that is the only reason he is going there. To drive the point home, he shows her that he has already blocked her number. He does not want her causing any drama between him and Nancy. Chole stands frozen like a statue. She grits her teeth and mutters that she won't let him go. Hungi doesn't even acknowledge her. He just turns around and leaves with hi. Once they get to the university, Harry insists on stopping at a nearby tea shop. He is hoping to run into some girls there. Hungi isn't interested at first, but he eventually gives in to his best friend's request. Inside the shop, a group of students is busy chatting about relationships. Hai jokes around and tells everyone that Hungi is still single. A red-haired girl sitting nearby speaks up and introduces herself. Her name is Hina, and she is a student in the law department. After a while, the bill arrives at the table. 10 students ordered drinks at $10 each, so the total comes to $100. However, the shop has a special promotion where you get one free drink for every 10 ordered. That means they only owe $90. The new waitress doesn't want to honor the discount. Hungi remains calm and points to the student offer printed on a poster. The owner steps in to apologize. He explains that it is the waitress's first day, so she didn't know about the deal. Hungi does not make a scene. He simply pays the entire bill for the whole group. Hina is really impressed by how maturely he handles the situation. He didn't make the new employee feel embarrassed or pressured. After leaving the tea shop, Hai stays behind near his own department. Hungi hops on a bus and runs into Hina again. Since her department is on the same route, they sit together and start talking. During their chat, Hina asks him for his Instagram. Hungi hands it over without a second thought. He jokes that this is actually the first time he has ever added a girl. Hina smiles back at him. She admits that it is also the first time she has ever approached a guy herself. The scene moves over to Hungi's new dormitory. His 3 roommates are named Xiao, Gojitaru, and San. Gojitaru is a big, muscular guy who proudly mentions that his family handles construction materials. He even tells the others they can join the family business after graduation if they want. While the others talk, Hungi stays busy setting up his bed and organizing his things. Goji keeps flaunting his family's wealth, their connections, and their high status. He proudly shows off a brand new mobile phone, boasting that it cost his father $1,200. Right at that moment, Hungi pulls out a laptop that is both incredibly expensive and advanced. For that time period, a device like that is a total rarity. Seeing his spotlight fade away, Goji quickly changes the subject. He asks if the other 2 are single and mentions that he's dated before. He offers to be their love guru, and the 2 boys immediately sit down in front of him with their notebooks ready. Meanwhile, Hungi looks at his phone and wonders if adding Hina was actually the right move. It almost makes him feel like he's two-timing. A message from Hina arrives saying she's finished moving into her dorm. She asks what Hungi is doing. At that exact same time, Nancy messages him too. She says she's bored and alone in her room, then asks if he can come meet her. Hungi grits his teeth and thinks about how hard it is to say no when she asks like that. He agrees right away and starts getting ready to leave. His roommates try to stop him, insisting that Goji's dating advice is too important to miss. Hungi just gives a casual reply. He tells them it's fine because a girl is actually calling him to meet up right now. All 3 of them freeze in total shock. They can't believe Hungi already managed to attract a girl on his very first day of university. Goji is secretly getting angry, convinced that Hungi is trying to steal his spotlight and challenge his authority. The other 2 whisper that the real expert in the room is clearly Hungi, and they think Goji's advice is outdated. Anyway, Hungi meets Nancy out on the university field and asks her about her first day. Nancy says her roommates are keeping their distance and barely even speak to her. Hungi tells her that anyone would be scared if they saw her walking around with so many bodyguards. Even now, there are 8 or 10 people following them. Nancy explains that she doesn't like it either, but her mother is terrified that someone might bully her. That's why she arranged for so much security. Nancy asks with a worried look if he thinks her roommates will bully her. She wonders if they'll lock her in the bathroom like the stories she's heard. Hungi reassures her that not everyone is out to get her. He tells her that sharing snacks is the easiest way to make friends. They head to a store and buy a huge pile of snacks. While they're picking things out, Hungi gets very close to Nancy, and her face turns bright red. Hungi notices it, but he just assumes she's feeling hot because the shop doesn't have any air conditioning. After they leave, Hungi tells Nancy about his plans for the future. He explains that the internet and the website market are going to grow very fast soon. The dot-com boom hasn't started yet, so he has a chance to get in early. Because he knows what the future holds, Hungi is certain that websites will become incredibly popular. He plans to start a website business, then move into e-commerce and grab every early opportunity he can. Nancy doesn't fully understand his explanation, but she smiles and tells him she didn't get much of that, but she'll always support him. That night, Goji suddenly punches the dorm room door and tells Hungi to come with him because they need to talk alone. Up on the rooftop, Hungi warns him not to start a fight. He reminds him that they live in the same room and a fight would destroy their unity, but Goji suddenly drops to his knees and starts crying. He tells Hungi that he steals every single moment from him. He says that whenever he tries to do something, all the attention goes to Hungi instead. Hungi immediately tells him to stand up. No man should ever kneel before another over something so minor. It is a matter of basic self-respect. Goji cries out, "You steal my spotlight," without even trying. "Just give me one shot to prove myself in front of everyone." He explains that their first class is tomorrow, and he is desperate to show off for the whole group. He begs Hungi to help him out. Hungi looks at him and remembers that, at this age, he was also insecure and arrogant. These things might look childish now, but they are often exactly what drive young students. He helps Goji to his feet and says, "Fine, I'll help you tomorrow." The next day, the four roommates walk into their first class. Everyone is feeling the nerves that come with meeting new people, especially the girls. Hungi picks up Goji's phone and starts loudly praising its $1,200 price tag. He goes on about the high-level camera and the flagship features. Goji proudly explains that his parents gave it to him so he could stay connected with his family. Hungi acts completely amazed. "A phone this expensive? If I owned this thing, I wouldn't be able to sleep because I'd be too worried about protecting it. You're incredible." The other students start whispering about Goji's wealthy family, but most of the girls find the performance fake and irritating. By reading their expressions, Hungi realizes that instead of helping Goji, he might have just wrecked his chances. With this kind of attitude, Goji might stay single for the next 4 years. Right at that moment, several girls walk through the corridor with Nancy trailing behind them. The second she spots Hungi, she flashes a smile. Many of the boys are instantly captivated by her. Hungi just smiles back and chats with her casually. Nancy's friends take notice of him. Since they already know her background is extraordinary, they assume any guy she talks to so comfortably must come from a powerful family. Besides, they think Hungi is handsome. After class, Hungi and his roommates head to a small restaurant near campus. Goji picks up the tab for everyone and repeatedly thanks Hungi for helping him stand out in class. Soon, however, Goji returns to his usual behavior. He starts rating the girls in their class based on their hair, faces, and figures. Hungi receives a message from Hina asking if there is a good restaurant nearby. He sends her his current location and tells her she can join them with her friends. Goji asks Hungi about his own dating plans. Hungi says he currently wants to focus only on his studies and making money. Goji assumes he just lacks confidence or is afraid of getting rejected. A little later, Hina calls to say she has arrived. The roommates see the stunning red-haired girl standing outside and immediately become excited. As Hungi looks toward her, Goji says, "That girl is way out of your league. She won't even look at you, so quit dreaming." Hungi teases him back. There's nothing wrong with dreaming. Without dreams, how can anything ever become real? Everyone laughs. Hina enters the restaurant and walks directly toward their table. All three roommates quickly try to fix their hair and clothes, but Hina sits right beside Hungi. Their expressions are priceless. They cannot believe such an attractive girl already knows him. Hungi awkwardly introduces her and explains that she belongs to the law department. The boys ask Hina how she met Hungi and who asked for the other person's contact in first. Hina answers them directly, "I asked Hungi for his Instagram." Now they finally understand that although Hungi looks ordinary and relaxed, he knows exactly how to handle social situations. "You mentioned you were coming with your classmates. Where are they?" someone asks. Hina's eyes widen as the realization hits her. "Oh no, I totally forgot them outside. Hang on, I'll go get them." The second she walks out the door, the three roommates pounce on Hungi. "How do you keep meeting girls like this? Did you cast a magic spell on them?" Another one demands. "How can a guy like you be living with 3 single bachelors?" Hungi thrashes around, trying to break free from their grip. "Let go of me. I'm completely innocent," he insists. Just then, the restaurant staff arrives with the food. Hina returns with two of her roommates, and the guys let go of Hongi instantly. They sit down and act like nothing ever happened. One of the girls with Hina is Chole. The moment Hongi spots her, he knows his peaceful lunch is officially over. Everyone takes their seats. Chole can't stop staring at Hongi, but he just pretends not to notice and keeps eating. The girl in glasses leans over to Hina and asks which guy at the table she likes the most. Hina answers almost instantly, none of them. Her friend just laughs at her. You changed your outfit 5 times before we came here. You definitely like someone. Hina steals a glance at Hongi, who is sitting right next to her. Hongi is actually pretty great, she says softly. He feels special and he's charming. Hongi tries to keep things casual. Just eat before your food gets cold, he says. Even that tiny bit of concern is too much for Chole to handle. She stands up abruptly, startling everyone. Hongi, what is this supposed to mean? Why are you putting on this act in front of me? The entire table is shocked to find out that Hongi and Chole already know each other. Goji feels like his brain is about to short-circuit. He can't wrap his head around how every beautiful girl somehow knows Hongi. Hongi stays perfectly calm. I had no idea you were Hina's roommate. I didn't invite you here, Chole. This is just a coincidence. He doesn't want to argue, so he stands up. I'm finished eating. I'm leaving. As he starts to walk away, Chole screams after him. You promised you'd stay with me for your entire life. You said you'd only love me. Everyone in the restaurant awkwardly hides their faces. They start to wonder if Hanki's past is way more colorful than they ever imagined. Honki doesn't give them an answer and simply walks out of the restaurant. Outside, several girls are stunned to see someone as beautiful as Chole chasing after him. 2 of them decide to follow Hongi and Chole secretly to figure out what their deal is. Chole jumps in front of Hongi to block his path. What am I missing? Why won't you look at me? Why are you treating me like a total stranger? To Hongi, the answer is simple. Chole was the one who ended their relationship. In his previous life, she took advantage of his efforts for 7 long years and then left him for another man. He has absolutely no reason to go back to her. But Chole won't stop. She keeps repeating that Hongi promised he would never leave her. A crowd starts to gather, and a few people even start taking pictures of the scene. Please don't make a scene, Hongi says. Just let me go. Hina rushes outside and apologizes, explaining she never expected things to get this bad. Chole completely twists her intentions and shouts, What kind of friend are you? How could you target my boyfriend like that? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? The girl in glasses steps forward to try and get Chole under control. Chole's blood pressure spikes, and she suddenly loses consciousness. Her roommate offers a quick apology to everyone before carrying her away. Hina turns to Hongi and apologizes again. Hongi tells her that none of this was her fault. Hina hesitates for a moment before asking a question. If I invite you to lunch or dinner next time, will you come? Just the 2 of us? Hongi agrees, and then they part ways. Later that same night, the scene shifts to a dimly lit room. A 4th-year engineering student with blue hair named Lisa is busy working on a website. She mutters to herself, Your idea is actually pretty good. I can build the site, but what guarantee do we have that people will actually click on it? Hongi explains that they need a powerful hook to draw in traffic. He suggests filling the front page with photos of attractive girls. Once the visitors start coming, they can slowly introduce the real content. Liza blushes and turns him down. She claims she's too innocent and says she can't work on something like that. Hongi stands up, looking unbothered. That's fine, he says. He planned to pay $5,000 for the project, but if she isn't interested, he'll just find someone else. The moment he shows the $5,000 card, Liza grabs it from his hand. With total confidence, she says, I love this kind of work. Honestly, I've always wanted to do it. However, she admits she doesn't have any experience finding those photos or creating the content. Hongi will have to handle that part while she manages the technical development. Hongi laughs. He says he never realized her standards were so flexible. A week later, Hongi sits with a group of literature students and turns down their childish stories. He tells them they're writing for adults. The content has to be interesting enough to keep people on the site. His blunt criticism actually brings tears to the writer's eyes. Then, a blue-haired student named Renjin walks in. He's the vice leader of the literature department. Renjin starts quoting famous poets and authors, claiming that real literature should be difficult to grasp at first. He says it should slowly become clear in the reader's mind over time. Hongi places a stack of money in front of him. He tells him those grand speeches won't put food on the table or provide a good life. He needs content that attracts people to the website. Renjin asks for an example. Hongi pulls out a story. It's a bit suggestive, though not completely obscene. Even so, calling it high literary art would be a stretch. Renjin angrily rips it to pieces. He shouts that literature is art and should never be reduced to this. He declares that a man with self-respect cannot be bought and tells Hongi to keep his cash. That same night, Renjin opens Hungi's door and walks inside. He sits in a chair and quietly says, "I have a good story." Hungi just stares at him. He asks what happened to those grand speeches from this morning. He wonders where Tolstoy and those literary principles are now. Renjin explains that he had to protect his image in front of the department. The truth is, he loves writing stories like this and has already prepared a few. His story is about a wife who cheats on her husband and leaves him for another man. Years later, the husband returns as a wealthy man. Since he knows about her betrayal, he refuses to take her back. She and her boyfriend are left drowning in regret. Hungi finds the story incredibly engaging. It's a goldmine for his website. He tells Renjin he wants more stories exactly like that one. Renjin gets emotional. He says no one has ever understood his talent before. Everyone else called his writing creepy, but Hungi is the first person who actually likes it. Hungi writes him a check for $20,000. He tells him that's his salary for an entire year. From now on, Renjin will write stories for him constantly. Soon, many other literature students join the project, and the website starts growing fast. A month later, university military training is underway. After a session, Go gives Hungi more relationship advice. He says Hungi needs to choose a good partner, even though Goji is still single himself. Hungi jokingly asks, "Do you see any good girls around?" "Who's that over there?" Goji asks, pointing toward a stunning girl standing nearby. "It's Nancy." Hungi gives a casual wave and says hello. As soon as Nancy spots him, she beams and rushes over to chat. Goji feels his heart sink. He just can't understand why every gorgeous girl at the university knows Hungi and why they all seem so interested in him. He quietly slips away, leaving the two of them alone. Nancy explains that her roommates saw Hungi and are now demanding a party. They're convinced he's her boyfriend. "Could you give them a treat?" she asks. She quickly adds, "But if it's a hassle, you really don't have to." She also has a suggestion for later. "You like hanging out by swimming pools, right? We can meet up there." She mentions that she remembers him staring at her quite intently when he visited her home. Hungi immediately breaks into a coughing fit. That evening, he takes Nancy and her roommates out for food and drinks. The red-headed roommate speaks up. "Honey, you're a pretty strange friend. You haven't even visited Nancy's dorm once." Another girl starts teasing him too. "Nancy talks about you all day long. As a punishment, you need to drink 2 extra glasses." Then they let it slip that Nancy even refuses to go to the movies with them. She's worried that Hungi might feel left out or bad about it. Nancy gets so embarrassed that it looks like steam might actually rise from her head. Watching her, Hungi remembers his previous life. In that timeline, Nancy never even attended Lanchan University. His past life was completely isolated and lonely. If this rebirth has given him anything truly special, it is definitely Nancy. She feeds him a little bit of food with her own hand. Hungi eats it quietly while her roommates trade knowing smiles. Later on, the roommates make an excuse about urgent work and leave the two of them alone. They take a walk through a park and find a bench to sit on. Hungi apologizes for not visiting the dorm and for leaving her on her own. Nancy gently places her hand on his. "It's okay," she signals. Hungi makes a promise. "No matter how busy I get in the future, I will never forget you." A quiet moment passes between them. Then Nancy pulls him into a hug and stays close to him. While they were sitting there on the park bench, they heard some strange noises coming from the bushes nearby. When they went to investigate, they found Goji passionately kissing a girl. Hungi was absolutely stunned. He always believed Goji would stay single throughout college, but it seemed he had finally found someone. Feeling a bit awkward, Nancy looks at Hungi and speaks softly. "I've never kissed a boy before, but I want to kiss you." Hungi stops her right there. "We're still just friends, and friends don't do that." Nancy looks a little annoyed, but she accepts his answer. They leave quietly without bothering Goji. After all, that was his private business. The next morning, Renjan and Lisa are wondering why Hungi hasn't made it to the office yet. He finally walks in with Nancy. Both of them are completely floored by her beauty. The group heads out to print promotional flyers and buy equipment for the website. The internet infrastructure is still pretty weak, so most tasks have to be handled manually. As they walk under the scorching sun, Hungi regrets not arranging a vehicle. There isn't even a bus running on this route. Nancy sends a quick text message. Within minutes, an incredibly luxurious car pulls up. An elderly man steps out and greets Nancy and Hungi with deep respect. He informs them that Nancy's mother is willing to build Hungi a massive office right near the university. He can even choose how many floors he wants. At the printing factory, Renjin asks for a student discount on an order of 10,000 copies. The manager shakes his head and refuses to budge. "We don't do any price negotiations here," he says firmly. "It doesn't matter if you're just students or powerful businessmen. You have to pay the full $20,000. Just then, Hungi and Nancy walk through the doorway. Nancy smiles and hands her juice to the elderly driver waiting nearby. When the factory manager catches a glimpse of the old man, he completely freezes. That man is Lao Ji Dong, the legendary emperor of the underworld. The manager wonders what a man like that is doing with a group of students. He pulls Renjin and Lisa aside to ask about him. Renjin just shrugs and gives a casual answer. Oh, him? He's just our boss's driver. The manager nearly collapses on the spot. If a literal underworld emperor is just someone's chauffeur, then he can't even imagine how powerful the actual boss must be. Renjin speaks up again. Fine, if you don't want to deal with us, we'll just take our business somewhere else. The manager immediately stops them from leaving. Wait. I'll give you the absolute best and most affordable price in the entire city. He knows he can't take the risk of offending people this dangerous. Meanwhile, Lao Jidong watches the happy Nancy standing beside Hongyi. He thinks to himself that Nancy's mother was definitely correct. Nancy has never smiled this freely before. If an ordinary young man can make her this happy, then that alone makes him incredibly important. Once they finish their work, everyone piles into the limousine and heads back to campus. At the university, a handsome student with pink hair named Funlu is busy showing off. He's wearing an expensive watch worth about $3,000. An orange-haired girl points at the watch and starts mocking Goji's $1,200 phone. This is what real wealth looks like, she sneers. Funlu also takes the chance to insult Goji and the others. Suddenly, the massive limousine pulls up right in front of them. Even Funlu stands there, completely stunned by the luxury car. The window slides down, and Hongyi calls out from the back seat. Hey, it's already lunchtime. Are we going to eat or what? Goji looks like he's about to cry from pure relief. Brother Hongyi, you're finally here. Please, you have to help us. He pulls the limousine door open and starts complaining about how Funlu has been bullying them. Hongyi takes in the situation and understands exactly what's happening. He steps out, shakes Funlu's hand, and takes a quick look at the watch. Oh, I recognize this. It's an older Bolex model. My mother actually gave me the same one for my 6th birthday, Hongyi says calmly. I thought it looked a bit too outdated though, so I just gave it to my driver. Funlu's face goes pale as his confidence vanishes. Hongyi gestures casually toward the expensive limousine. I only use this car for basic stuff. By the way, what kind of car do you own? Funlu has no answer, and Goji looks completely satisfied to see his bully silenced. Instead of continuing to humiliate him, Hongyi places a steady hand on Funlu's shoulder. We're all sons of the same country, after all. We shouldn't create a distance between people just because of money. Showing off doesn't make a person great, Hongyi continues. True greatness comes from remaining humble and respecting others. The girls who thought Hongyi was just some low-class nobody suddenly find him extremely handsome and impressive. The orange-haired girl decides she must find a way to get close to him immediately. As Hongyi prepares to leave, she speaks up. Will you have dinner with me at the cafeteria tonight? Just the two of us? Hongyi refuses her offer, saying he has too much important work to do. Funlu then offers him a spot on the student council. He says Hongyi could even become a branch president very soon. Since it's Funlu's final year, he believes Hongyi would be the perfect successor. Hongyi declines the invitation. He has no interest in wasting his time on responsibilities he doesn't need. He leaves in the limousine while Funlu shouts after him. If you ever need anything at all, just ask me. I will definitely help you out. A few days later, several senior students from the Arts and Literature department surround Hongyi on the field. They're actually busy discussing future content for the website. It turns out Renjin has become the project's gold mine. His stories are the highlight of their newest content. Renjin is the star of the moment, so Hongyi hands him the monthly Top Writer award. With a confident grin, Renjin reveals the title of his next big story. My lover is getting married, but to someone else. The rumor erupts because everyone knows a hit when they hear one. Outside the window, a heavy-set girl watches the whole scene unfold. Inside, Hongyi tells Lisa to distribute a portion of the month's profits among the entire staff. He wants them to stay hungry and motivated, so they'll keep working hard. The team starts clapping, but the heavy-set girl suddenly storms inside. What do you think you're doing? She shouts. You people have turned the entire literature department into a total joke. Renjin leans in and whispers to Hongyi. He explains that she is Cinda, the head of the university's literature society. Cinda doesn't hold back, and she tells them that money can't buy everything. In her eyes, these lowbrow stories are dragging down the standards of their entire department. Hongyi stays cool, though. He tells her a creator's job is to give the audience exactly what they want. They aren't doing anything illegal, and these are just fun, engaging stories for people to enjoy. Cinda drops a heavy threat on the room. She warns every student that if they keep working for Hongyi, they'll be kicked out of the Literature Society for good. Renjin explains the real danger to the group. Graduation credits, scholarships, and campus perks all depend on recommendations from official societies. For the fourth-year students, this is their entire future. The writers lower their heads in silence. Hungi pays them well, but they can't risk their scholarships and academic careers for a job that might not last. One by one, they apologize to Hungi and walk out the door. Renjin hands his last unfinished draft to Hungi before following the others out. Hungi doesn't try to stop anyone, because he knows they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. He realizes he needs some time to think this through. 3 days go by, and things are looking grim. Lisa reports that their website users are getting frustrated. They're asking for the next chapters, but all the new content has completely stopped. If they don't do something fast, they'll lose all the traffic and the loyal audience they worked so hard to build. Hungi realizes that Cinda hit the weakest point in his entire business model. He stands up with a new look in his eyes. If the official societies have all the power, he'll just start his own. Once it's official, nobody will be able to touch his writers ever again. The next morning, Hungi and Lisa take their paperwork to the Student Society registration office. A blonde receptionist barely looks up from her desk. To her, it's just another student trying to start a club to collect easy credits. She flips through the application and tosses it aside. Just a website, she asks. Everyone is making websites these days, so she won't approve an official society for something so ordinary. Liza starts to snap back, but Hungi puts a hand on her arm. He calmly mentions that their website already has over 150,000 users. The receptionist thinks he's pulling her leg. She tells him that ambition is fine, but he should at least use numbers that sound realistic. Back then, 150,000 users was a massive figure for a school project. She points to a thick stack of other applications. Some students are trying to build electric cars, while others are working on advanced drones. In her mind, a simple website can't compete with projects like those. Hungi doesn't beg. He simply tells her he has no interest in the other applications. He's shown her the data he needed to show, and now the decision is up to her. He turns and walks out with Lisa right behind him. Later that day, a senior professor enters the office to check on the new projects. He picks up Hungi's file and notices someone is still pushing a website project. The receptionist just laughs it off. She tells him the kid claimed his site gets over 100,000 daily visitors, and she thought it was just a bad joke. The professor finds the concept intriguing and asks for the site's address. At first, the suggestive style of the poster irritates him, but the stories soon pull him in. Hours slip away as morning fades into evening, and evening slowly turns into night. When he finally checks the clock, he's shocked. A whole day has vanished without him even noticing. He calls the receptionist right away. This young man has built something incredible. He tells her to approve it as a top-tier society and assign them one of the largest workspaces. He also authorizes $100,000 in startup capital. The professor is convinced that websites are going to be a massive market, and the university has to get behind this project. That evening, Hungi and Goji are heading back to the dorms after grabbing dinner. The blonde receptionist spots them and comes running over. Your project was accepted. Not only that, but it's been ranked as one of the university's premier startup ventures. Hungi can't help but tease her. Just this morning, you thought my website was a total joke, he says. She gives him an awkward smile. I was blind and didn't see your talent. Please, forgive my mistake. If you ever need a hand with anything in the future, just let me know. The following morning, she leads him to one of the largest society rooms on campus. It's packed with computers, coffee machines, and a fridge. There are storage cabinets and plenty of space for dozens of people to work comfortably. Hungi grins to himself. Watch out, leader of the Literature Society. Now, I'm going to show you where you really stand. 2 days pass before Cinda walks into the Literature Society office. It's a ghost town, except for one lone girl. Where did everyone go? She asks. The girl looks up nervously. They all went back to work for Hungi. Cinda stares at her. Well, at least you stayed. You must be a true lover of literature. The girl just points down at her broken leg. It's not about the books. I can't walk, so I'm just sitting here to keep from getting trampled in a crowd again. Cinda's face falls. She storms over to Hungi's new office and slams the door open. Hungi, get out here. She starts threatening the writers, telling them they'll lose their academic credits and scholarships if they keep working for him. Hungi steps forward, perfectly calm. My website is now an official S-level project under the entrepreneurship department, and I've started my own society. He explains that he can provide even better credits and bigger scholarships than she can. On top of that, everyone gets a monthly paycheck, performance bonuses, and extra pay for overtime. Hungi looks Cinda right in the eye. What can you offer them to compete with that? Do you really think you can match what I'm doing? Cinda tries to grab Renjin's arm to pull him away, but he pulls back. Please don't come here anymore. Our new leader might get upset, and I don't want to get on his bad side. Cinda retreats in total humiliation. Once she's gone, Hungi turns to the group. Now that we're back together, we need to push this site's traffic to the limit. His next move is to build such a huge audience that major investors will be begging to run ads on the platform. To boost the numbers, Hungi announces an online beauty pageant for the university. Students will cast their votes on the site, and the contestant with the most votes will be crowned Miss Beauty. The news travels through the campus like wildfire. Girls start signing up immediately, while the rest of the students argue over who deserves their vote. The next day, Renjun brings Hungi the final list of candidates. Hungi's eyes stop on one particular name. Take Nancy out of the contest. Renjun looks at him totally confused. But she's incredibly beautiful, so she'd easily land a spot in the top 3. But Hungi just shakes his head. That's exactly the problem, he says. She's so gorgeous that everyone will just assume she's going to win. It takes all the excitement out of the contest. The real reason is actually different, though. Anai's family background is just too powerful, and Hungi doesn't want to reveal her identity for such a minor event. The next day in class, the girl with the orange hair is busy campaigning. She asks everyone to cast a vote for her. Goji leans in to explain that Hainan Chole from the law department are the current favorites. However, there's a new challenger. A green-haired beauty named Jiangi has also entered the scene. She started at the university 3 months late because she was dodging military training. Goji pulls out a note and asks Hungi to pass it down the line. It's actually a love letter. Hungi slides it from one student to the next until it finally lands on Jiangi's desk. She reads it and looks around the room. When Goji catches her eye and winks, she doesn't find it charming at all. She hates the gesture, rips the paper into pieces, and tosses it away. Goji's heart is completely crushed. Later on, the orange-haired girl opens up to her friends. I don't care about Hungi's wealth, she says. He's a good person and he's honest. I actually like him. Jianji happens to overhear the conversation. She gets the wrong idea and assumes the love letter from earlier came from Hungi instead of Goji. She mutters coldly, sending love letters to girls during a lecture is just shameless behavior. After classes wrap up, Lisa is buzzing with excitement. She reports that the beauty contest has pushed their website traffic toward 500,000 users. They even received their first brand partnership offer. A company is willing to pay $20,000 for a single advertisement. Hungi looks over the paperwork and sets it to the side. He thinks the amount is way too low. The rest of the team reminds him that it's their very first deal, but Hungi isn't budging. We aren't going to turn them down, he explains. We're going to negotiate instead. Our site is worth several times more than this. Just wait and see. The following day, they head over to an herbal milkshake shop near the campus. It's tucked away from the main gate, and people hate the weird taste of the herbal ingredients. Almost no one ever visits the place. Hungi looks at the empty tables and smiles. This is exactly what we need, he says. He asks the owner if anyone has tried to buy the business. The man looks defeated. No, he sighs. Business is so bad that I'm 3 months behind on my rent. Hungi asks for a price that includes all the gear and supplies. The owner says he'd take anything over $15,000. Without hesitating, Hungi offers $30,000 and buys the shop on the spot. Lisa is furious. They just got their first ad offer, and now he's blowing $30,000 on a failing business. She asks him if he's lost his mind. Hungi just stays calm and explains his logic. People don't get the true value of web traffic yet. They don't realize how much cash these users can generate. His plan is to tell local businesses that one shop has already offered $8,000 for an ad. Once other companies hear about the demand, they'll start bidding against each other. Since Hungi owns the milkshake shop now, no one can prove the offer was fake. Lisa asks who's going to run the place. Don't sweat it, Hungi replies. I'm giving it to someone. Later, he hands the keys and the paperwork over to Nancy. As of today, this shop belongs to you, he tells her. You can sell whatever drinks or shakes you want. Nancy is absolutely thrilled. This move fixes 2 issues at once. Anai's fame will pull in a crowd, and the fake $8,000 offer will force the website's ad rates to go up. Hungi eventually meets with the businessman who originally offered $2,000. He explains that a milkshake shop has already made a much higher bid for the space. The shop owner put an $8,000 offer on the table, but the website hadn't taken the bait yet. Fearing he might lose the prime advertising spot, the businessman quickly upped his bid to $10,000. Hungi didn't hesitate and closed the deal right then. It wasn't long before posters started appearing all over campus. They announced a massive $10,000 cash prize for the winner of the beauty contest. The sheer size of the reward sent shockwaves through the student body. Nobody ever imagined a simple website run by a student could generate that kind of cash. News of the contest's success eventually reached Cinda. Once she confirmed that Hungi was the mastermind behind the site, she decided it was time to take him down. She uploaded a misleading video to the college forum that made it look like Hungi was caught dating 2 beautiful girls at once. The clip became an instant sensation on campus. Everyone started judging Hungi's character based on the footage. Nancy's roommates even showed her the video, angrily claiming that he was a cheater. But Nancy trusted Hungi more than she trusted her own eyes. This is fake, she told them. She knew Hongi would never do something like that. When her roommates called the video evidence, Nancy just shook her head. He recently gave me a very special gift. He doesn't even look at anyone other than me. She led them to the beautifully renovated milkshake shop to prove her point. When the girls discovered that Hongi had gifted the entire business to Nancy, they were floored. Their anger turned into envy, and they started dreaming of the day they might find a partner who was just as rich and caring. Meanwhile, Liza and Renjen asked Hongi how they should handle the nasty rumors. Instead of clearing his name, Hongi told his team to jump into the online threads. He wanted them to stir the pot and keep the arguments going. In his mind, more drama meant more users and more traffic. That led to higher advertising rates. He didn't stop there, though. He also rolled out paid badges and emojis for the contest. Users could buy these items to support their favorite contestants and boost their points. Liza was absolutely stunned by the idea. She realized they could make even more money from these small purchases than from their big sponsorships. Hongi just gave her a knowing smile. He had seen this exact model work on future live streaming platforms. He was just introducing the system years before its time. The students started competing like crazy to push their favorites to the top. Tane even bragged that he was going to survive on instant noodles for a whole month. He planned to spend every cent he had left on his favorite contestant. Walking behind them, Hongi couldn't help but think to himself, if these guys ever figure out I'm the one who built this system, they'll probably tear me apart. But hey, business is business. Just then, the blonde-haired friend of the orange-haired girl walked up to him. Will you have dinner with me tonight? She asked. The orange-haired girl stood there in total shock. Her best friend was supposed to help her get closer to Hongi, but now she was asking him out for herself. Hongi didn't miss a beat. I won't go to dinner alone with someone, he replied. If it's a group dinner, that's a different story. Janji suddenly arrived and casually mentioned that she would be joining them too. At the group dinner, the boys showed up in overly stylish clothes. The girls couldn't help but laugh at how hard they were trying to look cool. Hongi alone wore simple clothes and sat there calmly drinking his juice. He remembered that in his previous life, he also spent hours preparing whenever girls were around. This life was different, though. He wasn't going to waste his time chasing anyone anymore. When the food finally arrived, Janji gave him a cold stare. I heard you're very rich, she said. Why don't you pay the room rent and the entire dinner bill tonight? Hongi just smiled back at her. This is a group dinner, he reminded her. I didn't invite everyone here. We all agreed to come, so the bill should be divided among us. Ganji wasn't backing down easily. If you pay my bill, I'll follow you on Instagram and add you to my chat, she offered. He refuses. What makes you think your follow is so special that I'd pay your bill just to get it? Hongi asks. Even Goji is stunned by the response. He always assumed Hongi only used his good looks and his cash to attract girls. Instead, Hongi's attitude is totally different. Gianni feels the sting of humiliation and stands up. I'm not hungry anymore, she snaps. Then she walks right out of the restaurant. The following night, Gianni sends a message to apologize for how she acted at dinner. Hongi reads the text, but he doesn't bother to reply. He doesn't accept her follow request either. Gianni waits for a response until she eventually loses her temper. How childish is this guy? She fumes. He's trying to act tough, and he won't even click accept on my request. Her friend with the orange hair just laughs and clears up the misunderstanding. That love letter from the other day didn't come from Hongi at all. Goji was the one who wrote it, and Hongi only helped deliver the note. Gianni turns bright red from embarrassment. So, Hongi isn't interested in her at all. He isn't easy to impress, the orange-haired girl explains. The girl he actually likes is on a whole other level. Right then, Nancy walks into the room. She heads to the sink to wash a cup and Gianni goes quiet. Nancy is so stunning that Gianni starts to doubt her own looks for the very first time. Once Nancy leaves, the friend explains that she's the university's mysterious wealthy beauty. More importantly, she is Hongi's girlfriend. Think about it, the girl says. With someone that perfect by his side, why would Hongi ever look at anyone else? Gianni feels a deep sense of shame. A few days pass, and the final round of the beauty contest finally arrives. A massive crowd gathers for the big award ceremony. Haina takes third place while wearing a striking red dress. A gorgeous girl with white hair finishes in second. Then, Chole is announced as the winner. The entire hall explodes with cheers and applause. Goji screams her name louder than anyone else. He proudly brags to the crowd that he was the one who gave her the most votes. Hongi sits alone outside the hall. From the roar of the crowd, he realizes that Chole has been crowned Miss Beauty. Renjin knows things are tense between them, so he asks if Hongi is okay with the results. Hongi stays calm. I just wanted this competition to stay fair and honest, he replies. I don't really care who wins or loses. The contest has already served its purpose for him. Traffic on the website has spiked 10 times over. They've already passed 1 million daily users, and visitors are logging in from all over the country. While she accepts her award, Chole gives Hina a fake apology for her previous behavior. Then, she brags that she's found a man who is much better than Hongi. Hina tells her that the apology is way too late. She's already put in the paperwork to switch her department and her dorm room. She doesn't want to be friends with Chole anymore. Why are you taking things this far over some guy? Chole asks. She claims Hongi isn't even that special. Hina just stares at her. It's weird, Hina says. You're standing right there after winning his competition, but you're still insulting him. Chole is stunned. How could this be Hongi's contest? Besides, she thinks she's found someone way better. Hina just laughs. You don't know the truth, she says. The website, the beauty contest, the promotions, and this whole event were all Hongi's creation. She calls over the stage host, who confirms the news. The host tells them that Hongi is their boss and that every detail was organized under his orders. The first place trophy slips right out of Chole's hand. It shatters into pieces on the floor. She had been so proud, celebrating a win in a contest built by the same boy she called poor and worthless. Later that night, Chole sits by herself in her dorm room. Hina's request to move out has already been approved. The group is approved, leaving only the roommate with glasses behind. She lets Chole in on the campus gossip. Apparently, Hongi didn't just win that beauty contest. He also raked in hundreds of thousands of dollars from brand deals and ad revenue. Kale is frozen in shock. Hongi's success is way beyond anything she ever imagined. Tears start streaming down her face. Hongi, I want you back, she cries out. She vows to win him over again no matter what it takes. That very night, Hongi and Nancy settle in to watch a horror movie. When a scary scene plays, Nancy reaches out and grips his hand tight. Hongi smiles and comforts her. It's just a fake story, Nancy. You don't need to be afraid. After the spooks are over, they switch to a romance movie to end the night together. As time passes, Hongi takes his website to the next level. He even launches a delivery system. He uses every piece of knowledge he remembers from the future to seize every opportunity. Soon, his name is a household word across the nation. He builds a massive business empire one brick at a time. Eventually, he reaches billionaire status. In the end, he and Nancy finally get married, and the two live a happy life together. With that happy ending, our story wraps up. I really loved this story. Let me know how you felt about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and want to hear more stories like this, go ahead and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay happy and stay safe. Thanks for watching.